Annyeonghaseyo, welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, three American romance novelists discussing all things K-romance from a writer's lens. We fangirl over our favorite actors and actresses, talk up our trope addictions, and nerd out on K-drama deep dives. We'll throw in a few K-pop and K-skincare recs for good measure, because why not ride the Hallyu wave all the way to shore? So grab some tteokbokki and listen to your new favorite unneeds.
Hello, everybody.
Hi there.
Hello.
What? Are we very shy tonight?
I'm never sure who should go first, if it's me or Megan. And then we both do the same thing, and we pause, and then we'll say it at the same time, and then it's just a mess for the editor. Who's me?
It is. It's true. I notice a lot of times we say it at the same time.
But you can make, I am queen of, like, moving people around when we edit. Like, when that happens, it's, like, really easy to do. But once you do that, it shifts everything after that and the rest of the podcast. And so by the time I get to our anyongs at the end, all of our anyongs are at way different places, and I have to then reline those up. And it's not a big deal, but I thought I'd just tell you.
So you could be, like, hacking our entire, like, podcast and, like, redoing words and making us sound.
100%. I do sometimes. Like, if there's, like,
really?
I've done that. Yeah, I've totally done that. If somebody has flubbed a word, like, and it's happened before, like, where you flub a word or you say it too fast or you miss, like, a letter in it, like, you miss, it's like a FL or something and you miss the L really quick. I will go and find somewhere else in the podcast where you say that letter combination, and I'll copy and paste it. Yeah.
You do?
I do. I'm, like, super meticulous.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I feel kind of sick hearing that. Like, sick in, like, a, like, not disgusted way, but overwhelmed.
This is what when Leah and I last did a podcast just ourselves, this is what I talked about. I was like, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that Amy does that I don't like.
Including finding missing syllables.
I do. I find syllables. Or I have, on occasion, if anybody has ever, like, listened to a podcast and been like, that was, like, kind of a weird, like, that word sounded, like, a little bit weird, like the voice changed a little bit. It's because sometimes I will record the syllable that's missing from one of you, and I'll put it in there.
Oh, my God.
I feel.
I don't know. We should have a game. We should ask the listeners if they
find Amy's
episodes that Amy
find Amy's type A kooky edits.
I do want to say that there were a couple episodes there that we were using a different recording program that we thought would be better, but it wasn't. And now we're back to our original one, so we're hoping that the sound is better. Thanks for bearing with us again. We are newbies and trying our best.
Always learning.
Well, actually,
always learning.
we're almost at a year.
We are at a year.
We're past a year.
We're past a year now.
We are?
We dropped
we
the end of January. We didn't do a year celebration.
I was thinking it was I thought it was end
right now, let's do it.
End of February. Okay, happy anniversary, guys.
It's been such a crazy year. We didn't realize it was a year, but it was a year.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I was thinking it was February for some reason, but we dropped end of January. That's nuts.
I think it was like the last day or two of January, yes.
Oh wow.
And this all just stemmed from a ridiculous text chain that none of us could keep up with because we just wanted to talk so much about K-dramas that we were like, we should do a podcast, jokingly. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, how many thousands of downloads later, and just super, super in love with you all for listening to us.
And an Instagram that is blowing up and a Patreon that's active, and it's pretty awesome.
And I do feel like I guess this makes me feel a little better because sometimes I do realize that I have a tendency to overwhelm people online with responses. Like, I would be a very bad celebrity. Let's put it that way. Like, if somebody, like,
if you slid into Leah's DMs, she would totally write back.
Yeah, like if I was like a famous person, I'd be like fucked immediately because I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll talk to you, sure. And so the fact that I just like annoy, like, because I tried a few places, like when this was first happening, like I spoke to you guys, but I also would like speak in other places, like, oh, like blah, blah, blah. I want to talk about K-dramas.
Who else were you talking to?
I mean, not many people, a couple writers we know,
okay,
like whatever.
That's okay.
And I don't feel like...
Where are you going without us? What the fuck?
And, you two were the only ones who ever humored that. Mm-hmm. And now look what's happening.
So if you keep messaging Leah, you're just gonna end up
keeping messaging Leah. Like
you're just gonna
end up on like another podcast.
Oh God.
Actually, I forgot to tell you, Neil mentioned a podcast that we should do. So like he knows about how like Nicolas Cage is kind of like a running joke. He thinks we should start a podcast that's basically just called like I Hate Nicolas Cage, and it's just
oh my
Leah,
God,
and it's just Leah watching Nicolas Cage content and talking about how much she hates it.
I mean, I don't think that's the energy that I want to put out. And I'm not sure that I want that to be my legacy. However, I do appreciate that Neil gets me.
Yeah, and he does. I told him that too. I said, well, that's just really like negative energy to put out. Like that it's just a constant, like that can be a little draining, but he does get you. And he actually was like, I would listen to that.
I think it would be a hilarious.
I mean, we could make it like a 2-part. It doesn't have to be like an, I don't know.
Be a snack.
I couldn't.
It could be a quick little snack.
I'm not even a snake. Like, you know, like when you can do like a short
all right,
podcast.
Leah's gonna
like,
watch.
You know, like
Leah's gonna watch like just one scene from Face Off and react to it.
Face. Wait, have you ever seen Face Off? I forget. Have you? I know Amy has.
No, I'm aware of the pivotal face being
John
off 'cause we
Travolta
put it
and
in a
Nicolas
book.
Cage switch faces.
Classic.
I mean, I get
Like,
it.
they
I
switch
know.
faces.
They have the jail with the magnetic boots. Like,
But I'm going to tell you
genius.
something. I just really do want to let you know something.
Yeah.
They actually don't really switch faces. They're just
What?
playing each other's character.
shut up.
No. This is before. This is before like good CGI. Like they switched faces.
I'd love to see you watch Gone in 60 Seconds as well.
That's a
Just to see
fun
your
one.
reaction.
I mean, like
Angelina Jolie's in it.
Well, as we build out our media empire and start launching satellite pods, then I will take that on offer.
isn't there that one movie coming out where he plays a version of himself, like where it's totally meta?
Oh, I forget what it is, but yeah, I forget the name of it.
I think
but
we
you're
are
right.
going to have to maybe do a little snack on that one.
I'm like, you sir are no John Malkovich.
Oh God, I do love John Malkovich.
Except John Malkovich is in Con Air with Nick
Oh my
Cage.
God, he is. Yes. Oh shit, good one, Amy. Good one.
Again, so this is the fascination I have with Amy's brain. Is like I always I'm fascinated with all three of our brains and what lives in our brain. Like what is taking up a lot of real estate
in my
brains.
brain is useless knowledge about Hollywood.
But like very, very specific.
It's true, Amy. You know like everything, and you remember
even movies I haven't seen.
It's crazy.
I know stuff about.
It's crazy that you remember like really specific scenes from movies that really surprised me that you still remember. Like from like old movies. I can't believe you remember as much as you do.
But do you think about it? Like, is it just recall, or it's like okay?
No, I don't.
It just comes out.
No, I don't think about it at all. Like just now when you're like, he's no John Malkovich.
Your brain is like just spits out a ticket.
Yeah, that John Malkovich.
As soon as you said John Malkovich, the like ticker tape started going.
So, Megan, what's taking up real estate in your brain?
Yeah. That's so amazing.
I mean, I'm curious today.
Well, this is funny because it's just funny because Leah and I have kind of talked about this where, obviously she knows a lot about BTS, more than I think any of us need to know. And that's not a dig. Like, I'm same way. Like, I know facts about ATs and like, I do not need to know. Like, it takes up space in my brain, but yet I have like papers sitting behind me that have to be returned to my son's teacher. Like, they were supposed to be returned like 2 weeks ago, and they're just like sitting there. But yet I know that like San from ATs has like a 26-inch waist. Like, but I can't.
That's a problem with priorities, not brain
What is
space.
wrong
So
with
it's-
my
well,
with my life?
You know,
what
I mean, we have limited brains.
Yeah, limited short-term recall.
I'm sorry. Hold on. I just need to correct myself. It's a 28-inch waist. I shortened him 2 inches. Okay, go ahead,
priorities, and
sorry.
I do appreciate that. So, Megan, your brain is mostly taken up. I'm just going to challenge you to just reflect on this a minute more because I think we can take this a little deeper. So, AT's measurements are in your brain. Keep going. Well,
Well, I mean, I'm not going to start talking about measurements. I feel like we need to move on.
Oh, no, you don't need to talk about measurements. I'm just curious what else is going to come out, because we could get a fart jar. We could get a peanut butter cracker.
I just wanted to make sure that I was right about the John Malkovich thing, because I would like be mortified if I was wrong about my useless Hollywood knowledge.
You're still
I did. Look at that. Look at that.
Look at him.
Oh my God.
Look at him in Con Air. Amy's showing us a picture of John Malkovich in Con Air.
Just FYI, that doesn't make great radio or
No, I'm
whatever
just
this
showing
is.
it to you.
Okay.
I'm showing it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, but no, well, we needed proof.
I did.
I'm kidding.
No, no, my banter, I'm put on the back burner for a little bit. I'm kind of in timeout. Okay.
She's putting herself in a timeout. Like, we are not asking Megan to be in a timeout.
I'm trying to like tempt
I know,
Megan with like a peanut butter cracker. I'm like, here's a peanut butter cracker, Megan. What's up? What did you think about today? What's just one thought you had? One delicious peanut butter cracker.
Tell us something you did in college.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Other than a cruise.
Other than my nickname is Frodo.
Yeah, actually, I think that is something that listeners would be, because I was very surprised when I met you that you are fun size.
Oh.
I did not expect that, because you have a big personality and you talk loud.
I'm very loud.
So I didn't expect you to be able to fit into a baby Bjorn and let me carry you.
I actually have gotten that from people in the industry. Like, not just you, like publishing people, like editors, other authors. They were like, I thought you were really tall. Like, I just assumed you were tall. And I'm like, no, I have like a Napoleon complex. So I'm loud.
You're like 5 foot is that's like an ambition that I never quite got to.
Yeah, like, yeah, exactly. Like, in college it was like, or I'm sorry, when I was in high school, it was like this thing about my friends that they were like, throw me a party when I hit 5 feet, and I never got a party.
That's like my son the other day without even a trace of irony, because he's going through a growth spurt and he's past his dad now, because I'm married to like a slight mini, not, over 5 foot, but 5'5". Yeah. So he's past my husband, and, he's kind of like, he's at me now. I'm 5'6". And then he was like, I think I'm just going to try really hard. I'm pretty sure by like start of 8th grade, I can get to like 5'10". I'm like, well, bud,
Does he know who his parents are?
Really hard.
But I was also like, I don't even know what are you going to do? Hang upside down like Batman in your bedroom?
Right.
Like, I just was like, oh yeah. I mean, put your,
just, that's
your intentions.
That's another thing I know about San is that his growth plates have not closed, and so he could grow more. So I just want you all to know that. That
Where
also
is it?
takes
Where?
up.
All right. You know what? I'm editing this episode. We're at 13 minutes.
I know.
Wait. Just 1 sec. Okay. What is a growth plate though? Because I don't, like on your head, like
know.
a baby.
I think it's in like isn't it in your legs? I don't know, but he's like said it in interviews. He's like, my growth plates aren't closed, and
We need to fact check this.
I'm looking.
I know.
Right now
I was
what a
like, well,
growth plate
my
is.
growth plates apparently closed when I was 12.
Okay, so growth plates are areas of new bone growth in children and teens made up of cartilage. So they're at the ends of long bones. So essentially, they're like growing tissue.
Yeah.
So he still has growing tissue. Okay.
I mean, that's what he says. I mean, I don't know.
How does he know?
I don't know. Don't ask me. I mean, that is information I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you for that riveting moment. And all right. Well, I appreciate the friendship and perspectives and differing personalities you bring to this space.
Yeah, all of you.
And with that, we have a nice segue into what we're talking about today, which is the third in a 3-part trilogy, because Reply 1997 and Reply 1994 come before this drama. Reply 1988 is by turns hilarious, heartfelt, and bittersweet, and it's an examination into the everyday lives of 5 families on the same street as they go about their unremarkable or incredibly remarkable lives. This neighborhood of Songmyeongdong is a narrow alley separated by several houses and duplexes that the viewer is invited to visit for 20 quite long, if you're Amy, episodes. I feel like this was the drama you're like, I'm never going to end this drama.
Like, it took half my life.
Well, this is an amazing drama to experience. It is a bit of a weighty undertaking trying to podcast about it. There are so many well-developed characters, touching moments, plot threads, and then nods to actual historical events and pop culture that really, along with I Hate Nick Cage, someone should go and do an entire podcast series just on this drama. Please do. I'll listen. But here's how we're going to tackle this opus. Today, we're going to do a general deep dive discussing aspects of the drama that touched us and characters that gave us feelings of connection. And then in 2 weeks, we're going to do a special I Have Questions pod where we're going to do some research and touch on aspects of the drama that we knew were important and some that were just parts of daily life that we didn't quite understand from our Western perspective, and so wanted to do some more research. Also, I really want to just acknowledge that this is a drama that many of you listening also love. So if we fail to touch on something that is important or special to you, please know that it's still likely for us too. But we're all very human, and we can't do justice to this really special series. So thank you in advance for appreciating our efforts.
And the fact that we don't want to make an episode like 14 hours long for anybody.
No. So I really do think I would totally just listen to like a podcast that just like broke down episode by episode.
Sure, I totally would. Yep.
I mean, message me long enough on Twitter or, Instagram, and I'll just frickin' do that with you. Okay, so
every single episode.
So we're going to first start off with the non-spoiler section. And this is going to be relatively light because, honestly, this really is a drama that anyone who enjoys Korean entertainment should see. And we really don't want you to spoil anything for yourself if you haven't seen it. So just, hang out here and don't go into spoilers if you haven't seen it. You really do want to experience the story. But that being said, let's just get into some non-spoilery discussion. Quick impression. You have 1 sentence to describe your thoughts on this drama.
Please let me live in Sangmondong Alley with all of my besties.
I realize mine isn't a sentence, it's a phrase, but a coming-of-age drama with all the feels.
Just put "it is" at the front and you're good to go.
You don't have a subject or a verb, so that's a totally dependent clause.
Amy, I don't know how we're friends, Amy, but I appreciate you. Okay. Okay. One small, nondescript alley in Seoul contains the range and depth of human experience.
I think that's the best one.
Okay, so, watching this, I think this is what's interesting because it's, it's not a historical, but it's certainly not modern. And so, 1988 really truly does feel far away to some degree watching this. And yet, look, we were all alive in 1988. So just for some context, what were each of you up to this year?
Can I throw in really quickly, because to be another, annoying teacher comment here. But so I'm a librarian, and I had to get, for my job as a school librarian, I had to get a master's in library science. And one of the things in one of our classes, you talk about what classifies like the different genres of fiction. And we talked about historical fiction, and you're allowed to call anything historical fiction that is 20 years old or older. So like
sit with that. Everyone
I know,
listening.
right?
Everyone.
I was talking about this with my students this week, actually, and I don't remember how it came up, but the fact that there are books that we've gotten, like this year, I ordered some books because I had kids asking about it, and we didn't have a lot. I ordered some books on 9/11, and kids had asked for fiction books on that, and we ordered them, and I genreify my fiction collection in my library, and we technically have to put books about 9/11, which is something that I was alive for, that I was a teacher for, and we put that in historical fiction.
We are historical fiction.
Yes, we are historical fiction.
I just looked up for a fun fact. Harry Potter is historical fiction then, because that launched in 1988.
Fantasy, but that's fantasy. It's not about a time in history that we know of.
Whew. All right. Well,
yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there that if this was a book, it would be considered historical fiction.
Cool. Great. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Okay. So look, I was in 3rd and then 4th grade when 1988 hit. And one fun fact I do remember is the Bush and Dukakis election. I mean, I don't know. I was into
As
it.
most 3rd and 4th graders do.
But it gets worse. It gets worse. Well, we used to watch Peter Jennings at night. My mom was obsessed. I know I've talked about this on the pod before. We used to watch, and my parents still watch the news every single night. And so, we would eat dinner and then sit with bowls of Neapolitan ice cream and watch Peter Jennings in the news. And so just really quickly, Bush Dukakis election. I was raised in a house that was Republican. Since it's an interesting transformation I won't get into, where my family has moved on from switched politics over my life. But at that time it was, a Reagan Republican household, I would say, with Bush as the heir apparent. And so as a result, I was that bitch, that little shitty kid who our school did a mock election on election day, like where we got to cast ballots for Bush and Dukakis in my very rural red county farm town in Michigan. And I can remember putting my arm in front of the 4th grade class door and being like, who'd you vote for? And if they said Bush, I'd let them in. And if they said Dukakis, I wouldn't. And then the teacher came and yelled
What
at
a
me.
little shit you were.
Wow.
I mean, what a little fucking GOP troll was
Right.
I? Okay.
GOP troll.
But you're a recovering GOP troll.
I mean, I guess I moved on when I was like 11. But I also remember the California Raisin commercials.
Yes.
And there was also there was a contest where you could like name a California raisin, and I was like obsessed. I never won, but I was like, ugh. Like my mom would send in postcards because I'd come up with names for the California raisins. I remember Seoul Olympics, which gets talked out on or in this drama, but I remember Brian Boitano. Do you remember like the Battle of the Bryans? I can really remember male figure skater Brian Boitano.
Yes.
So Lunchables became a thing. They were hot currency at my school. My mom wouldn't buy them because she said they were junky. I wanted them so bad, but I would just get thermoses of like milk that would be hot by lunchtime. I do remember from watching all my Peter Jennings evening news, I do remember seeing the Berlin Wall coming down, like on TV.
Oh, wow.
And also, I will say that a very special gift I got for Christmas that year was my Santa bear. Like, do you remember that? Like, there was like a phase where they were like, and they were just white bears with like a Santa hat. And I wanted a fucking Santa bear with all my heart and soul. And Santa brought me a goddamn Santa bear, and I love that thing. So that was me.
The Jewish member of the pod has no idea what a Santa bear
It
is.
was just a white bear with a Santa hat. It really wasn't special.
But that was a thing of the 80s? Like it was a certain kind
I
of
even
Santa
looked it
bear?
up because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that was the winter of '88 that I got my Santa bear. And then I looked it up and like Santa bears were like, yeah, it was a thing. And then also, I didn't say this, but that was like the TGIA Friday night, you know, like for TV, like
Yes.
I would be like Mr. Belvedereing it, or, you know, like I loved TGI Friday.
Wasn't there like the Hogans and stuff like that? I feel like
I remember
and
Perfect Strangers.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, I remember Perfect
I love
Strangers.
Perfect
Where it was like
Strangers.
the Dance of Joy and like
Balki Bartakamis.
Balki Bartakamis.
There we go.
Remember the
Useless.
full name.
Useless
Amy,
information.
That's crazy.
Played by Bronson Pinchot.
Amy's like, mic drop.
The ticker tape is like
Yeah, that's really something I want to mic drop is that I remember Bronson Pinchot as Balki Bartakamis.
I can't believe you just came out. I mean, I want you on my trivia team. I will
Right,
say
she
that.
just whipped that out.
That's what I'm on trivia teams for, is purely for the entertainment. Like we get to the sports stuff and I'm just like do.
No.
Like I don't know.
But you know everything else, yeah.
Bronson Pinchot. Is he alive still? I hope so.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yes, he is. So, in 1988, this is just a little throwback to our Mature Heroes pod, but I was raising my 1-year-old son, Lee Min Ho, as I began my freshman year of high school.
Your after school special.
Oh, amazing.
Gosh. I was watching The Golden Girls on Saturday nights when I babysat my next door neighbors, who at the time I thought were so much younger than me because I was like the babysitter, but I realized in later years that the older of the two boys I babysat was only 3 years younger than me, which is the same age as my ex-husband. I sobbed at the movie Beaches, but also laughed my ass off at Eddie Murphy's Coming to America. I was Rick-rolled before Rick-rolling was a thing, since this was the year Never Gonna Give You Up blew up. Wrigley Field in Chicago, home of the Cubs, got their floodlights and had their first evening game. I have no idea if I was at a game that year, but it's possible. And Leah, I have never, ever eaten a Lunchables, and I'm okay with that.
So I was 5 in 1988, and I was really into My Little Ponies. Like, obsessed. And my mom made me a birthday cake where in icing she drew a My Little Pony on top. Like, props to my mom for doing that, for real. But when she tried to cut the cake, I like lost my mind. I screamed and cried because I didn't want her to cut the pony. I just wanted the cake to just sit there uncut. And it took a lot of convincing for my mom to actually be able to serve the cake to my family. Yes, I was a horse girl, like in like middle school, until my parents basically were like, we're never buying you a horse because it's too expensive. And then I moved on. But I could have been a really good horse girl.
You could have been great.
Yeah. So I was absolutely obsessed with Michael Jackson. I had all his cassette tapes. And Bad came out in 1987. And I wanted to be in his little parking garage gang. Like, I thought he was so bad. I loved him so much. I had a big wheel, and I love that thing. I also watched Knight Rider and Macgyver religiously. And, like, you don't understand. I think I actually, like, obviously not at 5. When I was a little bit older, I had, like, a serious crush on
Richard Dean Anderson.
Like, it was him and his mullet. I mean,
he was a good-looking dude.
Oh, I loved Macgyver so much. You have no idea.
I've actually, fun fact, never watched Macgyver.
Oh my god, I cannot explain how much I love Macgyver. Like, I watched it all the time. I like Quantum Leap too.
Yes, Quantum Leap, Scott Bakula.
Yeah. If
it's not gonna stop now. It's not gonna stop.
I feel like all of this...
I've never seen Quantum Leap either.
And I feel like all of this clearly aligns with, like, what I like now. Like, is anyone surprised?
No, not at all. Not at all.
I very much dislike Barbies. I was not into Barbies at all, but I would only play with them with my cousin. My cousin was very much into Barbies and New Kids on the Block. So the only time I would play with Barbies was with her, because I just wanted to wear my Umbros. My Umbro shorts.
I really see you in Umbros.
I had a lot of them.
I had Umbros. Who didn't have Umbros in the late 80s?
I did not.
And then my mom also would not buy Lunchables, and I make up for it by buying my kids Lunchables, like, a lot. Like,
I never bought them for my kids either.
I never bought for my kids either.
They like them. And
I'm not getting on my high horse about food. I just, like, Lunchables was just never a thing for me.
My kids love them.
Well, I want to say something that, like, now that I'm an adult, this logic doesn't hold. Because I hate cereal. And I grew up with cereal. And I grew up with Lucky Charms, with Frosted Flakes, with Trix, whatever, Fruity Loop stuff. And I remember I wanted fucking Boo Berries. Like, do you remember, like, all those, like, Count Chocula and Boo Berries? I'd be like, oh my god,
I wasn't allowed to get those.
I just want Boo Berries. And my mom was like, no, those are not healthy. And I was like, I guess so. That makes sense. And now I look back and I'm like, I ate goddamn Lucky Charms and Frosted
What's
Flakes
the difference
every
between
day.
Lucky Charms and Boo Berries?
Lucky Charms is just straight up marshmallows.
I know. And my mom's like,
they're not even real marshmallows. They're
eat...
just chunks of hard sugar.
Yeah. So
I love them.
This is a question. Yes. I'm like, how is that the line in the sand? I never ever got freaking Boo Berries in my life, but I'm
sorry. I think you should buy Boo Berries now for yourself.
I honestly, I buy cereal now because my kids eat the shit out of it, but I can't.
I love
hate
cereal.
I hate cereal.
I love it.
Oh. I ate cereal for dinner tonight.
I've done that. I've had cereal for dinner. Not tonight, though.
Well, I won't yuck your yum. Enjoy your cereal.
I do.
Okay. So, actually, in looking for something else that we're going to be talking about a little bit later in the pod, I was on Reddit. And I saw actually a comment that I wanted to bring up here. And so it was a person who self-identified as Korean. And they shared that to them, this was a really special drama, but they were curious about why it was also so popular with Western audiences because they thought it was, quote, culturally specific. So that was their words. So as 3 Americans, like, what do you feel like one universal theme in the drama is that you connected with? So that being said, I'll just answer my own question first because I can. So I feel like something that I connected to in this drama, I connected with many things, but narrowing it down is like that really powerful and strange nature of sibling relationships. Because in the drama, sibling relationships are really important. Like, friendships can come and go, but, you are often stuck with siblings. And I feel like it can be really, like, one of the longest relationships a person can have in their life. And, I mean, I know, especially in dealing with my siblings, like, you can't get away with being fake or phony with siblings. Like, every once in a while, like, one of us will try, like, not so much anymore because we're beyond it, but, like, younger, we'd, like, try to flex. And, like, there's no one that comes for you faster to shut your shit down than, like, a sibling who's like, no, you're bullshit. You grow up in the same environment, you have the same parents, you have the same common memories and experiences, and, like, you are who you are because of all that shared history. And so I felt like that was something that, like, we kind of circled through with almost all of the characters, and even, Tech, who's a only child, becomes, in some ways, like, siblings with some of the other children. And I feel like, I just thought that was a really special part that really felt universal.
Yeah, I feel like even though I grew up with a brother rather than a sister, I related a lot to Duckson and Bo-Ra's dynamic, like, always pushing each other's buttons. We were only, well, we still are, only 15 months apart. So that's really close in age to be, but we were in different grades, but we were close enough that, like, we were going through the same things, in life at the same time. And yeah, just like big time button pushers with each other. What also resonated with me was a sort of yearning for what they had. And I'm talking about like all of the families in general. Like my friends and I, when we were growing up, we used to daydream about having kids at the same time and being neighbors. And of course that didn't happen. My friends who I grew up with, like we're all spread out all over the place. And while some of us do have kids the same age and we're still friends with each other, obviously there's like that distance between us. We didn't raise them on a communal alley where we all help each other and feed each other and love each other. And I just really envied that part of the drama.
So I totally get how someone would think this is culturally specific, because I think it is. There are a lot of themes in this drama to me that are definitely specific to Korea, and then also Korea at that time. But then on the other hand, I do think at its heart, the drama is universal in regards to the relationships among the characters. So I most related to the Ajumas of the alley, who could vent about their annoying husbands, joke about their bickering kids, and also be there for each other in times of crisis. I have a core squad of college friends, and our group texts are, you know, usually just memes or pictures of our kids or just like little news about our families. But I know that in a heartbeat, I could send out an SOS and they'd all be there for me. And I really wish we all lived together in a tiny alley. Like, I do think that that was obviously really unique to Korea and the time, because now too, like, we all work, you know, like, and so even if we did live in a little alley together, we'd be like ships passing in the night, I think. But yeah, so thank God for smartphones. But again, it was that really understand, like, I think there's kind of almost like nothing like older women who understand each other. Like, we've been through a lot. We get it. We can talk about menopause, you know. So yeah, I really love that part.
And then, okay, so at the end of the drama, and don't worry, this actually isn't a spoiler, one of the characters says something to the effect of, like, why didn't we know how much fun we were having back in the day? And another character answers with, if we had known that back in the day, we would have been adults. So how does this conversation capture the nostalgic tone that pervades this drama? Amy.
This really got me, because how many times have any of us said, if I knew then what I know now, you know, at any points in our life, looking back on, you know, when we were kind of maybe going through a struggle or, you know, going through something that we should have appreciated more. But that's the thing. You don't have the wisdom when you're young and you're in such a hurry to grow up. God, I was in such a freaking hurry to grow up and not be a kid anymore, that you don't realize you might be emotionally missing out on one of the best parts or best times of your life. And I don't want to repeat any time in my life. Like, I'm happy where I am now. I'm happy with the life I've lived, you know, thus far. And I'm, you know, looking forward to whatever comes next. But I do wish I had appreciated certain eras of growing up when I was actually in it.
There's so many times I say to my son, I'm like, live in the present.
Yes.
Because he's always like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What are we doing this weekend? I'm like, live in the present, because that's one thing. Same. I was like, oh, I was in such a hurry to grow up.
Yeah. I mean, I think every kid is to some degree. Although I will be, lately, my daughter's been having this moment of being like, I think she's aware, because she's like not quite hit puberty, but like on the cusp, and some friends have. And she started to say things like that are really profound, of like, I kind of just want to keep being, like, she knows her childhood's almost over, basically. And she's like self-aware enough to realize that. And she's trying to like retain aspects of that childhood, even as she's like starting to like have crushes on, you know, K-pop idols and like FaceTiming with friends about gossip. Like, she's still trying to like intentionally keep parts of her childhood. And I don't know, that kind of like guts me a bit. So, okay, there are so many deep pondering moments in this drama. Megan, what's a character reflection that you'd like to touch on?
So this was one of my favorite episodes, or I guess my favorite kind of, I think each episode, one thing I did like about this drama is it's kind of a little episodic, and I felt like each episode had a little bit of a life lesson, but it didn't feel over the head. It felt really woven in and just deftly handled. So in episode 13, Bo Ra, who is the older sister of Duck-sun, who's kind of, you know, the main character, says, when I was young, Superman lived at my house. He was a Macgyver type of guy. See, Macgyver. He was a Macgyver type of guy who could fix anything in the world. He was the Jenga who'd appear out of nowhere to fix every sort of problem. He was the hero of all heroes who had no weakness. However, I came to know the truth after growing out of my childhood. He was just not discovered, but even Superman was human. We don't know how many dirty, petty, unfair, sad, scary, or difficult worlds have passed Dad by. And only now I realize no matter how dirty, dirty, petty, unfair, sad, scary, or difficult, the reason he endured was because he had people to protect. It's because he had a family. And he had me, because he had to live the world by the name Dad and not another, end quote. And that episode really stuck with me. When I was young, I most certainly thought that my parents' lives just completely revolved around me and my brother. Like, they didn't have any other identity. It was only about me. I thought my mother knew everything. I thought my dad could do everything. And now that I'm a parent, I realize that they were just human, and they were just navigating parenting the best way they knew how, and they were likely winging it. When my mom would make a decision about something, I thought it was because she knew something I didn't. Like, I thought she had some, like, crazy mom foresight or whatever. But now her and I will often have conversations about, you know, decisions she made when I was a kid. And she tells me now, like, she said, I second-guessed every decision I made. And she said it wasn't easy for me, and I didn't have all the right answers. And so, you know, I'm grateful to have parents that were like Superman in my eyes. And it's a weird realization that they were human, just like me. But it is helping me put my own parenting in perspective. You know, I mean, I hope my kids I know they don't think I know everything, because I'm always like, they're always like, you say you don't know. And I'm like, because I don't know. But I just so related to that entire realization that Bo-Ra had, because I think that is something you realize as you mature. And I do think that was a turning point in her life. And it was kind of a turning point in my life too, when I was kind of like, oh, my parents are human, just like me.
Yeah. And I feel that way too. And sometimes, I don't know, I think I admit to my kids maybe more than my parents did. Although, I mean, like, I don't want to give them a crisis of confidence that the ship has no captain.
Right. I think I do too. I'm like, look, I'm not, you know, a genius. I can't always like fix. I mean, I think so too. I think I admit my weaknesses more than my parents did.
Okay. So look, in this drama, I think there is a really powerful quote that happens. And again, this isn't a spoiler. I'm going to give it out of context, but there's a character who has this realization, and the quote is translated, but goes something like this. In the end, fate and timing do not just happen out of coincidence. They are products of earnest, simple choices that make up miraculous moments. Being resolute, making decisions without hesitation, that is what makes timing. So how has this idea played true in your own life? And why does it rip my own throat out to read it again?
I know. Because you know.
Ugh. So, I mean, I'm going to just preface this by saying, you know I'm not old. Like, maybe to some I am. Like, when I was telling my daughter how I was going to Epic High, and she's like, aren't those like the old guys? I'm like, you mean like the 40-year-old musicians? Yes, old for this earth. But, you know, I know in reality, like, you know, someday I'll look back and be like, I wasn't old, but, you know, whatever. But I feel like as I've aged, and COVID probably too, like, I do think I have become more reflective on where I've been, what paths I've traveled, what choices I've made that's led me to where I am now, and the roads I didn't walk. So I, like, you know, shut the door on lives I never had. And so every day we just like, we make these choices, and most of them are these small, quiet decisions, but that's like ultimately like what makes our life. And that's just something that's so just totally beautiful. And even though I am like this sarcastic, prickly asshole who doesn't like to hug anyone but my children, I do feel like I get teary. And like, even when I was typing this today, like, I got a choked up throat just like writing down this quote.
Which is why I'm so mad that you just made me relive that. I mean, that quote it guts me in the sense that I know what it means in the drama, but it also guts me because I don't look back on, I don't think anything I've done with regret, but I do realize moments in my time where I made, you know, maybe one choice over another, or where I didn't act and I wish that I had acted. And I feel like two of those times like kind of combined with each other. Like there was, and this is something super simple, but like my junior year of college, I studied abroad in Scotland, and that was a really cool decision that I made, and I'm glad that I did. But I had a huge crush on a guy when I was there, another American guy, and like we were friends, but I never fessed up to this crush, and I never, you know, knew what would have happened if I would have, you know, told him. And I was 20, so whatever, like probably nothing would have come of it, especially since we were both, you know, in another country and lived in different states and whatever. So long story short, unrequited love, on my part, and never confessed. And then fast forward not quite 20 years later, and I decide that I am going to try my hand at writing. There are various things that like pushed me into, writing fiction. And I'd never tried it before my early to mid 30s. And it had to do with the school that I worked at the time. And I was like, I'm just going to try writing a chapter of a book for this like writing contest thing. And I did. And that one chapter turned into an entire book. And that entire book did not get published. But I wrote an entire book, and it was not the book of my heart. And then I realized that's what I had to write, was the book of my heart. And so I took that unrequited crush that I had when I was a junior in college, and I wrote my first romance novel, and that was the first romance novel of mine that got published, and it totally changed the trajectory of my life. I don't think that I would be here doing this podcast.
Really amazing.
Yeah, and I don't think I would be here doing this podcast, if I wasn't a romance writer now, right? Like that's what led me to appreciate the genre, to appreciate the crafting of this kind of story. And yeah, so, I took one of those moments that I felt like I should have had more agency and didn't, and I turned it into something that sends me royalties.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, I mean, this quote kills me too. One thing that 1988 drills home is that time just passes. Like, no matter whether we like it or not, and we can't get back time that is lost. And so what decisions have we made to get the most out of our time? And I didn't see this as like a sad element of the drama, but more of a reflective one. So it actually made me, instead of looking back at all the ways timing has not gone my way, I've really been thinking of all the ways that it went right, because I've kind of always considered myself unlucky. I don't win chance games or bingo or whatever, but maybe that's because my timing in my life often has worked out in my favor, or at least it seems so. But then on the second hand, like, would I know if my timing hadn't worked out, So it's just a lot of thought, but nothing about the drama made me regret. It just made me reflect and think, and actually kind of left me with like almost like a happy melancholy. Is that an oxymoron? But
no,
that's how
I can
I felt.
hang with that.
What I like about the quote, even though it does gut me a little bit because I know, what it means in the context of the drama, but like in general, I love that sort of explanation of fate, that fate isn't something that is out of your control. It has to do with the choices that you make and the timing of those choices that you make. That it's not just making the right choice, or right or wrong. It's making a choice at the time of impact, I guess you would say, right? Because whether it's a right choice or a wrong choice, it's a matter of when do you make that choice. And that,
it's also kind of a sum of choices.
Yes, that too. It's what leads you to that moment. Yeah,
it's a series of choices. Because the character who says this, there was a series of choices.
Yep, 100%.
That were made. Now we're going to get to our favorite part of the week. And today we have Leah with a K-pop.
Yay! I'm so excited to get to make a recommendation because I never have, I don't think.
Well, you can more.
I know.
I don't need to monopolize
but I'm really excited today.
Good.
Okay, so I'm going to recommend BTS. I know it's not a surprise. I am pleased that, Megan, you have become you've opened your heart up more to BTS.
I have.
And I applaud it because, look, I don't think BTS is basic.
No.
Okay, so today what I want to recommend as our K-pop rec is the song Friends, which is from the last album, Map of the Soul 7. And it's performed by V, or Taehyung, and his BFF for life, Jimin. And it's like this poppy, fun song. It's got like a calypso beat. And they're really just like kind of singing about their like ride or die relationship and how it's evolved from, their youth of when they were young trainees together to the present day. And then their hopes to like continue this on as good buddies, like even after their like idol days are done. So it's fun. It's nice to listen to. But one of the other reasons, besides just the idea that it's friendship and we're talking about friendship today, is there's a moment in the song where V whispers in his like voice, "Hey Jimin, today," and then he makes that drinking mouth pop sound that the dad in Reply 1988 does like 3 million times in the episode or in the drama. You know how he's always like talking about like having a drink with his buddies and like making that pop. And so I just had to like wreck this song for Reply 1988 because like when I heard that, I'm like, I will always think of Reply 1988 whenever I hear that sound now.
So he doesn't make a goat sound.
No, he doesn't make, he's always like, want a drink, and he's like, I can't do it like, look.
Yeah.
I can't do it either. he like, The actor nailed that.
Yeah, and V
pop.
does in the song, and I cannot. I've like tried to be doing it. It's like I can't do it
I can't do it well.
because it's like not just clicking your tongue; it like resonates in a different way.
Right.
So anyway, I recommend it. Friends from BTS. It gives me happy Reply 1988 vibes. If you enjoy our podcast, you have our patrons to thank, at least in part. Afternoona Delight Patreon allows us to keep creating content for y'all to enjoy. Thank you so much to everyone who is supporting us there. And not to brag, but our Patreon community is pretty awesome. And you can join at a tier that feels good to you. Gain access to fun perks like K-drama posts, monthly Patreon-only bonus podcasts, and even a live K-drama support group on Zoom. Because we know firsthand what it's like to have no one to talk to about those crazy plot twists, amazing characters, and all those feelings. And look, no one should have to walk that walk alone. So learn more by visiting afternoonadelight.com. That's www.afternoonadelight.com. And hey, while you're on the website, you can check out Afternoona Delight podcast merch, find links to book recommendations, bop along to our K-pop Rex, glow up your skin with K-merch Rex, find all of our social media, and a link to our email so you can send us recommendations or feedback. And hey, while you're at it, why don't you pop over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review? It really helps with our discoverability. Kamsahamnida. Okay, so we're now going to move into the spoiler section. If you have not seen Reply 1988 and we have not convinced you, still go watch it. And because, like, just do.
Just do it.
Okay.
Quit arguing with us.
And then welcome if you have seen it. We're now going to talk about more things specific to the drama. So what is one image, just one, related to this drama that like pops in your head when you think of Reply 1988? Like if I say Reply 1988, some visual comes into your head.
Well, it's because of the question you asked us right before the the K-pop rec. And for me, it's Jungwon in the car getting every red light on the way to rescue Ducksun at the concert.
Oh, God damn.
I know. So let's all just take a moment.
He sits in the car and it's raining.
Oh,
man.
You know, he's like, why am I getting every red light?
So I've seen this drama twice. And the first time, I truly didn't know that Jungwon was not Endgame. I missed all the tech cues, and there's many tech cues. I was not seeing it. And so in the red light thing, I think my heart started to really be like, oh. But I didn't fully even get it until he gets to the end. And then you see, like, Tech run up and just, like, be out of breath with Ducksun. And I was just like, holy shit. What?
Yeah,
You're like, holy shit, this drama is not going the way I thought it was going to.
I still thought, even when he was in the car, I still thought that he was going to make it. I was
did
like,
too.
this is just the buildup. Like, he's going to make it.
Yeah, me too. And I didn't even realize, I fully didn't. I don't think I fully realized and appreciated the first time, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later, how structurally they were making such a case for Tech, but I was just so blown away by...
Yes, you will talk about that because it's done so well.
Ugh. So for me, I don't know why this popped in my head, but I really do love it, so I'm going with it, which is when they made the ice snowman. Because, like, she was like, it's Christmas, I want Santa to bring me a snowman. And, like, there was no snow, and all the grown-ups, like, the kid goes to bed, like, happily have made their request, and the grown-ups are all like, what the fuck do we do? And they, like, get ice and, like, carve this amazing snowman. And then it, like, is really warm. The snowman melts.
Into a puddle.
Yeah, into a puddle. So she wakes up the next morning. Or, they're all, like, the next morning, like, what do we do? Oh, my God. And I just, like, it felt so relatable as a parent. Like, you want to make your kids, like, dream. Like, you want to give them these idyllic experiences. And in this one, I loved it because Sunwoo comes out and he's like... No, it's just an ice cream. Just like go down to the corner store and buy the ice cream, and then you see you eating it later. Like, happy Santa brought me this ice cream, even though they spent the whole night. But it was still special because they, as a collective parents, they all had that experience, even though the kids never got it.
I love it.
Yeah, it's just
it was really.
I felt very relatable as a parent on so many levels.
Honestly, one of the first things that popped in my head was just Ducksun and her pink mittens, because I just love that whole storyline. How Taeki just wanted to buy her a present, and then he got his father the pink mittens. Or, I'm sorry, Taeki was asking her what present to buy his father, and she misunderstood. She was like, pink mittens are great. And I love that his father still wore the frickin' pink mittens.
Of course he did.
And then the whole thing where both Teki and Junwan bought her the mittens or gloves or whatever. So I really loved, and how she was so happy when she put them on. And I do remember Angora was like a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like, do you remember?
Yes.
Because those were like Angora mittens. Do you remember
Super
how
fuzzy. Like I had an
they
Angora
were-
sweater. Like I loved it.
Yeah, I had an Angora sweater too. It was like a whole thing back then.
And you would like
So.
shed all over the place when you wore Angora.
Shed everywhere. It was worse than a cat.
So, what was the best scene in this drama? And why was it Boner Alley? But for real, okay, look, before we begin, I do really want you to answer like a scene that sticks in your heart, but I just need a minute to unpack with you.
Take
Boner
the
Alley.
minute, but you start.
No, we have to talk about Boner Alley because we have to. So please.
Okay, so the setup to Boner Alley, I believe this is episode 3. And they're
It's really early.
they're on the school field trip, I believe. And there's like, alcohol that's been stolen, hijinks are happening, running is happening, they're getting chased.
Because the boys were singing at the girls' talent show.
Yeah. Being
And the dean is chasing.
yeah, and the dean
Who is one of their fathers.
Yes. And so somehow in like the chaos, we see Junghwan and Ducksun get separated, like culled from the herd, and they end up in this like very, very narrow alley pressed together. No, they don't stand side by side because this is a fucking K-drama and we need to have what happens next, which is also amazing for a K-drama, which is they are young, they are pressed very, very, very close together. And we see this entire moment of awareness for Junghwan where he starts to realize that he's pressed up tight to a very cute girl, albeit a girl he's known his whole life. And you can see that he's just getting a big old boner. And he is hating life itself.
Yeah.
He's like, holy shit, what on earth? And she's pretty clueless. Like, I don't think she's like an ingenue, but she gets that there's like something going on, but she's confused as to what's happening. So you see confusion and like a little bit, like there's like something like that, like beginning current of like, there's something. And you just see him in like full, like, think of my grandma taking a bath. Holy shit, what's happening?
Yeah, he's like eyes to the sky, baseball stats, like trying to think of anything to like lose this boner. And I remember, like, Leah hadn't like mentioned this at all to me. It's not like she was like, wait till you get to this one scene and like, you know what I mean? And so I got to the scene and I lost it. And I remember I messaged Leah and I was like, did a K-drama really just acknowledge boners? Is that what I just saw? And Leah's like, oh my god, you got to that scene, and then she's like losing it because I'm like, this is the best scene ever. He has a boner. Like,
we're like being all sweet and nostalgic, and I'm like, and there's boners.
I was like,
But it was just
so cute.
It was so true to like the awkwardness of being a teen and starting to see like all of them starting to see Ducksun as a girl rather than just like one of the gang, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And especially for Jungwon because
this was his catalyst, essentially.
Yeah.
and I just felt like it was done right. Like, I don't know how to explain it. They didn't make it crude. I just really loved how it was done. I thought the acting of Rio Jun-yeol is just, truly incredible. You can see just from his facial, like, there's really not a lot of physical acting of their bodies because they're like pressed together in this alley and it all plays out on his face. It's fantastic. It's so good.
it is really well done. Like you just see his realization and then see him trying to do anything but what's happening.
Boner Alley is my favorite. I think it's my favorite scene of the whole drama. I'm sorry. It's just I just love it so much. Yeah.
So besides that, Amy, what else you got?
Besides Boner Alley, because that is amazing. So Boner Alley happens really early on, but then we have so much pining like throughout all of the drama. And what I loved is when Jung Bong got the first kiss, the major kiss of the drama.
The dark horse of the whole drama.
Yeah, like flash forward to many episodes later. And then another one that stands out to me, and I know we'll talk about the flash forwards later, but like I found this really funny. And this sticks out to me still in the flash forwards. Like, there's the running joke of Noel, like, looking so much older than he should. And it's because the actor who plays him is 10 years older, I think, or 11 years older than Ducksun in real life. And it's a running joke. And when they flash forward to everybody as adults, the actor who plays Noel is, like, 75 years old, Amy. And he comes Dawson in a baseball uniform. Like,
I don't know why.
I don't know.
They've done this in the other reply to, like, where, like, they like having just, like, someone young being old. And I don't know why, like, the showrunner thinks this is, like, the most hilarious thing to do.
But I laughed, though. I laughed that they leaned into the joke. But I didn't realize that it was because this is the only reply I've seen so far. I didn't realize it was a joke that they've been leaning into for, like,
They can't get over it.
3 series. Yeah, and then I mean, the other thing that stuck out, I mean, I cannot get over Tech's smile, like whenever Tech smiled, because it was hard to pull a smile out of him, and when he did, I was like, oh my god, that's what Pak Bo-gum looks like when he smiles. Like, that is like rainbows and unicorns and everything wonderful in the world.
Really, truly. I would tie that boy's shoe. Oh, that, I didn't mean it dirty either. Oh my god.
Tie that shoe. Is that a euphemism?
I was like, wait, that's a new euphemism for me. I'm going to tie that boy's shoe.
Oh my god. No, I'm not that bad. Okay, but that being said, no one's going to believe that I wasn't intentionally being gross, because, look, I do need to talk about the chair grab kiss, because when it happened, I lost my breath. It was just like, we climbed Lonely Mountain. We climbed Longing.
Oh, I know.
And I just felt like it delivered everything that I needed in a romance. And I have to say, like, I really enjoyed this drama even more on the second watch. But in the first time, I loved Jung Hwan with all my heart, and really had thought he was endgame for so long. And it's a testament to how amazing Techie is, and like how great Pak Bo-gum plays him, that I was kind of like, I'm really sad, and I'm like so stoked that this is now happening. And just like how he just like hurls himself forward, like he has been waiting for this moment all his life. What song is that, Amy? I've been waiting for this moment. It's Phil Collins, isn't it? All my life.
I'm not.
Whoa.
You can bust out all the Phil Collins trivia you want. I'm not going there.
I'm pretty sure it is Phil Collins, but that's, yeah, I feel like
I've been
waiting
for this moment
for all my life.
Oh. Yeah, that's Phil Collins.
So anyway, that was Techie going in China for finally getting that sweet, sweet kiss. Well, I mean, like, he'd had the kiss before, but, like, really, like, going for it.
But he didn't know that it was real.
Exactly.
That was when he found out that it wasn't his dream.
And that's when the reader, or the viewer, did, too.
Oh, and that was when, I mean, I still was holding out for Jung Hwan at that point. Even when she said that was when they're adults, and they're being interviewed and talking about when they had their first kiss. And she's like, well, that was in Beijing, right? Because that's, they're having the dispute over when the first kiss was. And then they flash, to them going to Beijing for the Go Game tournament. And I was like, well, Jung Hwan's going to show up in Beijing. Like, I was still...
Wow.
Yeah. And again, like you said, like when he kissed her, I was sad but happy. Because you can't not love Tech and Ducksun. But when for so long, I thought it was going to be Jung Hwan and Ducksun. It was emotional.
The best scene in the drama is Boner Alley, so I just want to make sure we all know that. Second, I think I mentioned this in the podcast before, but I did see a stupid spoiler. All I was doing was looking up Hari, and I was reading an article about My Roommate is a Gumio, and I didn't think that they were going to throw a 1988 spoiler in there. So I knew that Techie was endgame shortly after Boner Alley.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. But you told me you were happy. That's when I was like, who did this to you?
Yeah, I was okay with it. So the thing is, I did know Techie was endgame, so I was like really into him because of that. I like knowing who to root for. I don't love pain like Leah. I just need to say, when the scene where they have like the food coupons and they go out to dinner for like steak, and Pak Bo-gum walks in with a freaking hat on. I lost my shit. I was like, okay, I'm sorry. Pak Bo-gum in a baseball hat is a whole new
It
ballgame.
hits differently.
And a turtleneck. He had a turtleneck with that.
I was like, my God. So I mean, that was, look, I'm saying that was a favorite scene just because I was a little taken aback. Okay, just a little taken aback.
So, look, we asked the Patreon a little bit about, like, what are some things that they wanted to bring up. And there were lots of great questions, but I think a lot are going to be good for, like, the next podcast. But one that stuck out to me was there was a little bit of a debate over Ducksun's agency in Reply 1988. So I view her as being at the apex of one of the best love triangles in K-drama. And so, Megan, Amy, do you think she actively makes a choice in deciding who she likes, or does she kind of wait to just be chosen?
This was tough. I think this was a good debate because, Jungwon never truly made a move, right? He wanted to. He waited. Timing was a bitch, as was his, when he made his decisions. And she waited for him to make a move. So I don't know if we'll ever know if he was more than a crush for her because nothing ever came to fruition. But that being said, you could see her actively falling for Tech before he made a move. She was always there for him, making sure he ate, making sure he slept, going to his matches long before he confessed to her. So I think she did have agency there. And she did try to pull a move out of Jungwon. With the pink shirt, with waking up early to go to school when he went to school. And I feel like this was also a time, and we're talking about a totally different culture here, so I can't, I'm looking at it through a Western lens. But back in the 80s, I was not forward enough to just, go and tell a boy that I liked him. I was not confident enough when I was a teenager to do that. I had to, go through his friends and, does he like me? Or get my friends to ask his friends, or, wait for him to call me, all that stuff. So I totally get her not just saying... even when she's sitting on the bed next to him saying, should I go on this blind date? She's trying to trick him into confessing. Should I go on this blind date? And her friends are telling her, we can tell, he is into you. But it blew up in her face the first time that happened. And so I get her not wanting to just confess. So I don't know. This is a tough one for me because she doesn't confess to either Tech or Jungwon before they confess to her. So even when she does, give her feelings to Tech, it's after he has made it clear with that sleep kiss and then the real kiss, that he loves her. So I don't know. I don't know if I can answer this. I think that she had as much agency as you would expect from a teenage girl in 1988. But on the same token, I can constantly think about this drama and wonder what would have happened if Jungwon would have gotten to the concert first. I will never stop thinking about that.
Right. I think she still made decisions regarding the sleep kiss. She still made a decision there. And I think at the time in her life, that was the right decision to pretend like it didn't happen. I think Ducksun had a lot of agency just in her life in general. I think she... Not just in relation to the romance is what I'm trying to say. But I think in the romance, she did. I think to go along with what Amy says, it makes sense to me as a teenage girl. Again, in 1988. It makes sense that she would have, crushes on several guys that she grew up with. And that she worked through them. And I forget, she had a conversation with, was it her friends or her sister? I forget. But she has a conversation with someone else, how they were you don't have to wait for someone to like you. You can like someone first, and that's okay. And, because I think all along she was well, I'll like who likes me. You know what I mean? And even with Take's confession, it was still her decision to pursue him back. And, she could have confessed to Jungwon. She could have.
Yeah, I do. I was going to say, I do think there's a little bit, it was with Sunwoo, her friends were he totally likes you. And so all of a sudden she crushed on him. And then with Jungwon, her friends were well, he totally likes you. So she totally crushed on him too. So she was influenced with both of those guys by her friends kind of planting that idea. Whereas Tech is the one where it evolved naturally.
And I do want to say that for the kiss, she held back that night. Everyone left and she stuck around.
She did.
And then when we see how the kiss happened too, they both lay there with their eyes open for a little bit too. It's not I think, it's muddled. And what I like about it is that it's very relatable to be so muddled and to like people, and you can like people at the same time. Liking is not linear. I guess that's my take home is, I've liked more than one guy before and had different feelings for different people at different times, especially young. And so that just felt so normal to me.
So, Leah, you found online a compelling analysis of how Baduk actually provides a structure to the main love story. Can you summarize?
Yeah, so look, I didn't come up with any of this, but I did read it after, and I want to summarize a few key points because I've played some online Baduk, but I am not a Go expert by any stretch. However, when I saw this, I thought it was compelling enough to just share a few bits of this analysis. And so I don't even know who wrote up this analysis. It's been like passed around through like social media, and I cannot find the original author. So I'm not going to like really directly quote a lot of it because I don't want to be like plagiarizing someone and not giving them credit. And I do think it's a really amazing analysis. But essentially, somebody drew a pretty compelling parallel to how structurally the drama of Reply 1988 is structured as a general metaphor for how Go is played. And so here's a couple of things that I think really like stood out to me. I'm not going to like rehash all of it, but there's a couple key points that I think are interesting. One is that the player who will have the advantage, like if a player's more skilled, they're going to seed the board and give like a points advantage to the person who's like less experienced. And it's usually like 6.5 is like what's seen to be like, they're called like zips or homes of like, you know, points on the board. I'm not explaining this very well, but essentially like you're giving it an advantage. And if you look structurally at how the show works, we don't really see Tech enter the picture as a player, like a romantic threat to Jung-hwan until episode 6. So essentially we see right away that like we're giving Jung-won a lot of time on the board here to like get his shit together. And it's just like his, you know what I mean? Like he's getting some advantages. And then something else that I saw that was really interesting is there's this idea that in Go, there's something called Balki. And Balki is when, you know, the loser at the end of a game, of a Go game, kind of reflects on how the game went. It's like their moment to be like recognized in the game. And we saw this play out in the drama a few times when like Tech would win and then we'd see like the loser getting the microphone and talking and things like that. And so they have this time to like be reflective on the game, to talk about like where their personal shortcomings happened and where things like where they lost their advantage in certain areas. And so I've also seen that really what we're seeing in this drama is this whole drama is Jung-hwan's Balki. So he is like having this opportunity where like he gets to explore where his game went wrong and like where he made choices and strategy mistakes. And at the end of the day, Tech was a stronger player. And it wasn't that they were competing in a nasty way because they truly were not, but they were both making these little everyday decisions. And at the end of the day, we do finally see Jung-hwan has at the end of like kind of like the red lights and everything has happened of being like all these small little choices that I've made as I've like played at this game of love, like I lost and this is why. And I think that that is a really nice analogy that happens and has like a really beautiful metaphor with that.
I love that because he really does have, I mean, he's got like a 10-minute scene, it seems like, where he like reflects on everything that didn't go in his favor. And all the decisions he made that made it that way.
And then the other like last point that I saw was that I guess in Go, like what you're trying to do is like, I didn't really realize it was this idea of building a home, but I guess that's kind of what the term is meant to be like. But you're kind of like encapsulating areas and building these homes. And so in many ways, we're seeing like Tech building out like a very lonely boy and or like not an orphan, but, you know, a motherless child kind of like building out his home and how he's like known to be like such a long game player. And that was his reputation in the whole drama as he's like competitively playing is that he's got like this tenacity to just kind of hang in and go the distance. And so his strategy and how he plays the game of Go also mirrors how he was ultimately quite successful in the game of love and wins the girl.
I love that.
That's awesome.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. And then, okay, we do have to talk about something that didn't happen. And thank God it didn't, because if it did, I think it would have broke K-drama. Basically, let me just cut to the chase, is that I found like pretty compelling evidence, and it's been chattered a lot online, that at the end of this drama, Jung-hwan was meant to die. And I've seen that the setup was, you know, he was a fighter pilot and something was going to happen where like his plane malfunctioned and, you know, he was like going to make a landing somewhere that was populated in order to save lives. He like did the noble thing and like ends up dying. So things like the confession scene where he brings his fiance, so-called fiance ring, the flight school ring, and makes like a joking confession to Duck-sun. I saw that that was kind of meant to be like him having a flash in his mind of like what he wished he had done. And they redid it. And then later, we really see his mom going through it with menopause in a way that like, look, no shade to like how her journey through menopause went, but it feels very tonally dismal, like her sitting in the dark with like
extremely
light
dramatic,
falling
extremely
over her
dramatic.
face.
Right.
And so I guess what happened is they like they went ahead with like him dying, and people were like, what the fuck? Like, you can't kill Jung-won. So they were like, well, shit, like we shot it. So they like went back and like reshot like a couple little bits to like make him not dead. However, like his mom like mourning him in sadness, they're like, oh, menopause, okay. And then like at the end it was meant to be like his empty chair at like the wedding, because they're always going to keep a place for him. We really don't see him in the final episode because he's meant to be fucking dead, and so like he just kind of like jingles off there. So I mean, like, I guess in some ways he's like, this is why in the past I've made this reference and I never could name him by name because I didn't want to spoil it. He's the ultimate vehicle for a second male lead SOS fantasy story. Yes. Because like, yeah, they decided, well, we can't fucking kill him, but we're not going to give him any kind of wrap up story. So he just kind of like, yeah, hangs off like a dingleberry at the end of the drama.
Dingleberry. He needs an SOS.
Yeah, I mean, maybe even like the three of us each writing one for him or something. But like,
I'm down.
Like the boy yeah, I mean, maybe that's what we should do as part of this like montage of Reply 1988 is like we all do an SMS. Second male lead for him.
If he died, I don't even know what to say. So mainly because there's just no reason to kill him. And then Duck's son would have had the decision taken. Like, I feel like that would have lessened her agency.
Yeah.
For sure. However, I would have been on board for a Pearl Harbor movie romance where she thinks her boyfriend dies. So she starts a romance with some other hot soldier, but then her boyfriend reappears live and well. So, like a Kate Beckinsale, Ben Affleck, and Josh Hartnett love triangle, would have been down for that.
That was a good one. That was a good one. But I mean, honestly, if he would have died, I might have quit K-dramas. Like, that's how much that would have...
Yeah, I mean, I felt fucked up when I read it, and it didn't happen.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, when you told me, and then in my mind... I'm going back and seeing the wedding with an empty chair, and I'm like, no. Like, I was enough of a mess at the end, emotionally at the end of this drama, without killing off, one of our heroes. And I think that that's a lazy way to cure a love triangle too, is to just kill one of them off. I would, nope. So thank you, writers, for listening to. I don't know if it was your test audience or whatever, but thank you. You made the right move.
Absolutely.
I don't think the drama would have been as beloved. I think it just would have made a lot of people
I think people
mad.
would have just been fucking pissed. So, look, I just need to skip ahead and just get this off my chest because we just got to some sadness. Can we just take one moment to discuss No-Ul's jacked as fuck body that, like, had no rhyme or reason for that much skin that was amazing?
It was just like a throwaway, like 10 seconds of the drama. Him just taking off his shirt. And how was that under there the whole time?
And they didn't show us. They just had him sitting in front of a TV his whole life. And then all of a sudden he's suddenly jacked. How?
And there's no, like, nobody stops. There's no comment. He's just casually... Because we've seen the other characters without their shirts on, too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when it comes
didn't look like that.
Jung-won did not look like that.
I feel like when it comes to, like, needing a PowerPoint explanation for something that happens in a drama, we need one for No-Ul's.
I need it spelled out why No-Ul was jacked when all we saw was him sitting in front of the TV the whole drama.
Okay, so look, I think that we're going to wrap up here. We'll do like one last question, and then I think next pod when we do the I Have Questions, we're going to bring up a couple of things more about friendships and some of the adult side of things that we didn't touch on, and some of the secondary romances, because we haven't even like touched on that. I mean, this is what I'm saying. Somebody like just do a whole like podcast series.
Right, there's too much. There's too much to talk about.
So, but what is a quibble that you need to get off your chest? And okay, I'm just going to barge out with mine because I know it's controversial and I've debated this during like lengthy Instagram debates with people.
Of course you did.
But I feel like there is a massive disconnect between modern take and actual tech. And I understand that people change and evolve and like you're not always like, you know, a winsome child getting your shoes tied. And later on as like the drama went on, he kind of plays it a little more like maybe slightly. But like honestly, I get that they were trying to like make you think it was Jung-won or whatever, but just it's not for me. It wasn't for me.
No, I hated it, actually. Like, I flat out hated it. First of all, I don't like being, like, manipulated to make me think that it might be Jung-won. But he was not Take. Like, I'm sorry, Take is who he is, and I actually do not think Take will change much. Sorry. Because I think he is very strongly who he is, and he is going to stay that way. So it's actually a huge quibble for me. I actually hated all the fast forwards. I strongly disliked them. And I really only watch them in case I miss something. And I will tell you some of them I just fast forwarded through. Because I just didn't like them. I didn't like who Duck's son was. I didn't like any of the adult stuff. It felt silly and didn't fit the tone. I don't know. And I realized that this is like a reply thing. Because I was like, why do they have these stupid fast forwards? And Leah was like, Megan, that's what they do. And I was like, okay. That's honestly my only quibble. I just didn't like them.
And I actually didn't mind the fast forwards at all, but I agree with the disconnect between adult tech and teen tech. That's why for so long I was so sure that Duck's son ended up with Jungwon.
Yeah, same.
But I do want to give a shout out to the actor who played adult tech because he was a quote unquote mature hero I wanted to know more about. And sadly, I did find out that Kim Joo-hyuk, who played Adult Tech, died in a car accident in 2017.
Oh, no.
I know, because I was like, what else can I watch him in? Because this guy can get it. I mean, he might not be acting like Tech, but I liked him. So that was sad for me to find out. But because I don't want to end on a sad note like that, and that was not a quibble for me, I will say that my one quibble was the wigs.
I love the wigs, actually.
No, I mean, like, they're endearing after a while, absolutely, because they're funny, but like, they're so obviously wigs, and every time I looked at the moms, I'm like, that's a wig. And that always takes me out for a moment. I mean, it doesn't ruin the story for me, but it takes me out. Like, I remember, I think it was like the second Twilight movie where Kristen Stewart had like cut her hair for something, but like she had to still play Bella with the long hair, and she had like this horrible wig, and my daughter and I were watching the movie, and I'm like, that's a wig, isn't it? Like, 'cause my daughter had just read all the books, and I'm like, that's a wig, please tell me that's a wig, like, it doesn't look like real hair, it's terrible. And we start like Googling, and like, yes, she's wearing a wig, and here's why. It's fine, but like, I just knew the whole time it was a wig, and so it just took me out. And so yeah, with the moms, like, I always knew that they were wigs, but it was kitschy and like endearing after, you know, several episodes, because this drama, like I said, did take half my life to watch. And so it didn't take me out, you know, after the first few episodes. But yeah, the wigs were a little.
The thing is,
silly.
there are good wigs. Like, there are great wigs.
But they were like,
you know, but these were not good wigs.
And they were like,
Kristen Stewart didn't have a good wig.
It was like Sunwoo's mom and Duck Sun's mom had the exact same wig too.
They did. I know.
The exact same wig.
Like the same.
And Jungwon and
pattern,
Jungbong's mom had one that parted to the side.
Right, I know.
So yeah, I mean, I love this drama. Like, the wigs are not a true quibble, but they're a tiny quibble.
Yeah. Okay, well, does anyone have a book rec?
I have an 80s romance, if I may share.
Let's do it.
And what I think is super fun about this 80s romance is the author, it's called What I'm Looking For, and the author is Karen Gray, who is actually Karen White, the audiobook narrator, and she's like one of my favorite romance novel audiobook narrators. She's done a lot of, I don't want to say it wrong, but I think she's done like a lot of Jill Shelvis. But anyway.
The cover is very cute.
Yes. One of my favorite audiobook narrators. We've connected at conferences and gotten to be friendly. And so when she wrote, this is her first book that she wrote. Like, she's narrated so many wonderful romance novels, and now she's got her own. And of course, she narrated too, so I listened to it. And it's called What I'm Looking For. It's a super cute cover. It's an 80s romance. So it's a brilliant at math but challenged with people heroine and a stubbornly frugal hero find love in spite of themselves in this vintage romance debut from award-winning author Karen Gray. So finance hotshot Kate Bishop doesn't expect the cute bartender to quote Shakespeare at her when she meets her colleagues for happy hour, nor for him to rescue the rest of the workday with a special cocktail. Will Talbot's head is turned by the adorably nerdy young woman who doesn't seem to belong with the rest of the power suit crowd, but his heart knows that he's got to keep his eyes on the prize, his career as a professional actor. Opposites attract in this romantic comedy, so this quirky pair finally gives in to chemistry stronger than a stiff Harvey Wallbanger. But when real life throws them a curveball, will love win or will career? And it was super cute. I love that the woman was like the power earner in this one, and she was, you know, it's the 80s too, so she's working in an office with all men who are super icky, and the hero is a struggling actor in New York and like quotes Shakespeare, which is super nerdy, and I love it. And just, yeah, really cute. Takes place in the 80s. Highly recommend. That is, again, What I'm Looking For by Karen Gray.
And what are we all watching?
Well, I just finished Sobok last night at about 1 in the morning. So I have not started a new drama yet. I did the short like mini series, 7 First Kisses, which is really cute right before that. So I think I'm going to be diving into Our Beloved Summer next.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I'm still on While You Were Sleeping, and it kind of hit a little bit of a lull for me, but now it's picked back up, and I'm really into it. I'm really, really loving the cast. And yeah, so I'm getting towards the end, and then I'm not sure what after that, but for now I'm really enjoying it.
And for me, look, this was a dark horse. I thought somebody would have told us about this, like, somewhere, but I guess I didn't make it clear that I really, 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 for whatever reason, love Color Rush. I don't know why I love it as much as I do.
I did too.
I just love it.
Yeah.
And so Color Rush 2 is out. And I found that last night. I flipped out. I got Grandpa, like Grandpa Ghost, which is if you have not listened to Color Rush, Grandpa Ghost is a character who gets maybe 3 seconds of airtime, like, ever. It is, like, such a scene stealer for me. And it's a kid at a public school in Korea living his best life, and he apparently just has, like, a grandpa living inside his body. And everyone's
Grandpa
just, like,
Ghost.
aware that this exists. It's not part,
And they just all
and it's not
accept it.
part of the actual, like, thrust of the main conflict of the drama. It's just like like an ensemble character. Like, imagine Noel.
That's his thing.
Just has a grandpa living in him, and no one's ever like, oh, like, what's up with grandpa inside you? It's just like a accepted reality.
Oh, no, Will for sure has a
Right.
grandpa living in him.
So, but anyway, Color Rush 2, I'm liking it. I mean, they're very short. They're like 12-minute episodes, so I'm gonna, like, finish it tonight. But and then I'm gonna start Our Beloved Summer.
So this was not a 12-minute episode, but it was fun. And I love talking about this drama.
And we will talk about it more.
We will.
Yeah, we'll be back to talk about it
We've
more.
got another episode coming up. So thank you for sticking around for this one. We hope that you have watched all of the drama and that we haven't spoiled the big moments for you, because it's really something that you need to experience on your own for the first time, or get spoiled like Megan did, right around Boner Alley. Anyway, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Annyeong. Kamsahamnida. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!